Hi there everyone, welcome to my presentation of beroepsopdracht 4a, the example video. Today I'd like to discuss a few things with you. For my beroepsopdracht 4a, what I've done is I've done a teaching material analysis. I'm going to discuss the selection of the lesson material that I've used for my lesson series. I'm going to give you a short description of the lesson series and how these lessons are aligned, and I'm going to discuss how this is task-based. I also will theoretically underpin all my choices, and I'll give you an evaluation of the teaching of my lesson series regarding my choices. And I will use the input from the video that I've made while teaching. I actually didn't make a video because I didn't teach this, but as an example you would. And the feedback of my placement coach, which I do not have either, but still. There we go. This is an example. So I have used this book. It's called New Interface, purple label. It's the 3rd edition. It's quite a recent edition. It's 2016. It's meant for VWO 2, and I have used the unit level 2.4, which is called Curious Complaints. And I've done my analysis using the 2 required articles, which is analyzing how much this material is linked to the CEFR or the ERK by using criteria by ERK methods, and I've used the course material analysis from the module guide, which you can find there. So what I've done is I've looked at this particular unit because this is what my students are dealing with at the moment. And I've asked myself a few of these questions, and these 3 questions from this particular article were most relevant, I thought, because I do not have access to the tests that belong to the material at this point, so I've used these 3 questions. And I have tried to find how communicative some of the tasks were in this particular unit. And there's actually only one activity that I would say is communicative, and I'll show you later because it's part of my selected teaching material. En then I've asked the question, in hoeverre worden de te behandelen leerdoelen in de methode uitgedrukt in ERK-niveaus? Well, this is quite well done because actually it is CEFR-proof, and it says so everywhere, and it actually starts with, it actually starts with CEFR levels indications and criteria, and it is meant for A2, B1 level. So yes, they are actually mentioned here quite a lot. And then I thought the question was interesting to how much is self-reflection stimulated in the method, and it's not really. Like every now and again, students are asked to tick a box just to say, like, do I think I met the learning aims? So that could maybe be enhanced a little. Then I've also tried to find a task. Now I see that I am in the way of what I'm trying to show here, so I'm going to move myself. First time for me, this. So these are some criteria that you were also expected to check with your teaching material. So the questions that are also in Willis and Willis: does the activity engage your learner's interest? It's right there. Oh no, there, if I look at myself. Does the activity engage your learner's interest? Is there a primary focus on meaning as opposed to form? Is there an outcome to the activity, etc.? These questions. Well, the only activity that I could find that might, that might sort of fit these criteria is actually the role play. and there's a role play with the use of speech cards. So there I could sort of identify, okay, it's an activity. It will engage learners' interests because it is about complaining about something close to them. It might be fun because they're unaware of what the other speaker might be saying, so it's a bit of a mystery, still fun. It's not reproducing previously learned or drilled language. There's not really an outcome to the activity. Basically, they do the role play and have to switch roles, which I consider not to be really an outcome. So it would be sort of, okay, then they have either a presentation of it or they present it in front of a group or etc. And I thought of something else. So there's not really a final outcome to the dialogue. So no, not really a task yet. So I had to tweak it a little bit. And tweaking sometimes just means adding a little bit or taking other activities and placing them in front of them, etc. I'll show you what I've tried to do. It's not the best work I've ever done, but there you go. So the first lesson is the pre-task. And these are my lesson outcomes. I have 4 of them. And I'll show you the activities that belong to these outcomes. So this is what I've done. I have made them, well, there again, I have to move myself, I guess. Yes. Wait, I need to pause myself. Wait a minute. Ah. Hi there. So this is the video I show them at the beginning of the lesson.
Hi, I'm really not happy. I'd like to make a complaint, please. Okay, then, sir. What's this complaint about? Well, listen, I just bought a pizza in Asda's in Merthyr Tydfil. I just got home. There's absolutely no topping on it. You know, that's my dinner for the night. Well, there's no topping on it whatsoever. No, just bread. Just bread and tomato sauce. No, not even tomato sauce, just bread. Sorry about you could get back to store to be able to exchange this for you. Wait. My mate, sorry, I've opened it upside down.
So even though it says lesson 2 on top, I'm sorry, it's supposed to be lesson 1. So this is the step-by-step activities that I've done with this lesson. So we have watched a funny video and now we're going to read a text. So you can discuss the video, you can introduce the video a little bit. And I'll show you the activities and the reading material on the next slide. Then I'm going to ask the students some questions, and they're going to prepare a yucky food top 3 of what would be reasons for them to still eat their food. Has it dropped on the floor? Would I still eat it? Is it a 3-second rule? Would that be okay for me? So they would sort of make a little bit of a list of what is okay for them still, and compare to their classmates and share that with the group. And they will also sort of have a reaction to what this girl Emily, who is appearing in the reading material, has to say, and they have to think of an advice for Emily. So what do you think she should do? Should she complain? Should she not complain? Just a little bit of as a lead-in to the actual task that the students are going to do later on. So why have I done it like this? Well, it sets the minds of the students to the vocab subject. I'd like to draw them in with their own specific ideas on this. Show them a little bit of fun video as well, and use the video because then we can discuss the type of language that is used. And I would like them to do some prediction, a little prediction task, so they can start thinking about what advice, like what are reasons, good reasons for complaining, and what would be the next logical steps to do so. And again, they are asked to present their ideas to the class. So this is the material that I've used as it is. So there's a little text about Emily who was eating an apple and there was a worm in it. And this is what the students have to write advice to. They have to tell us, okay, this is what I think Emily should do, or what we think Emily should do, because I'm going to make them do this in pairs. And then this lesson lesson material I've used as well, which is, what is the worst thing you've ever eaten? Why was it so bad? Have you ever found anything strange or yucky in your food? So they start thinking about their own personal ideas, and then they create sort of a top 3 of yucky food and share it with their partner. There we go. Then we're going to carry on to lesson 2. So that would be, I would say, enough for a regular lesson, I would say. The lesson 2 would be like the actual task. So these are my outcomes, again, down there. So here they're actually going to do some role play with making complaints. And I've added a little bit because I thought it might be more interesting and that would keep them busy for a little bit longer than just these speech cards. So I'll show you the material that I've used. These are also just from the teaching material, the speech cards. They're actually quite good. However, I've included the fact that pupil A receives a set of cards with pictures of objects on them, because in the speech cards as they are, he finds a tooth in his hamburger, which is rare. But I thought it might be interesting and very educational and good for them to start describing more objects of what it is that they found in their hamburger. So I will offer them a picture of a tooth, a paperclip, possibly earplugs, fake eyelashes, wedding ring, and a chewed gum. Yeah. But not give them the words for it. So there might be occasions where they actually have to start describing the words, which is sort of an extra aim in the lesson as well. And what you can do is sort of, you can switch roles a few times, or you can give them different partners. They have to play the role until the complaint is sufficiently dealt with. This could also be done with a work form of inner circle, outer circle. So in the inner circle you have the A pupils, in the outer circle you have the B pupils, and they can sort of rotate a little bit so they switch roles with a few partners. And I also want to do this because I want them to be in a sort of a low anxiety environment, low focus environment, so they just have the one speaking partner, but there's still sort of a reason for them to perform well because it's not maybe their friend. Then I'm going to ask them, after this is done, to actually write a short report. So A is going to write a written complaint, again writing the complaint down that they had, and B is going to write a report of the last complaint that they've heard, for instance. And I'm going to ask my pupils to ICT upload this to the Padlet page anonymously. So they will write they'll write their complaints on this Padlet page, and everybody can see them. There's a reason for them to do it, because it will be posted, and if it's missing, it's quite obvious. And I, as a teacher, can do a short analysis of maybe the most common written mistakes afterwards, and I'll address those in lesson 3. This is my teaching material, actually. I'll move myself around again. So this is the speech card. You can see here what they're supposed to do. What I really like about the speech cards is that they do not give them set language. They give them situations. So they'll actually have to work it out a little bit. And what I've done is I've included some extra objects here, there, so that they have a little bit of a problem that is introduced, and I have to work out what are these orange things that I see right there. So they have to start to do some describing and using some descriptive language as well. Then my lesson 3 will be the language focus, and these are again my outcomes. And what you can do a few things. You can either analyze the Padlet page before you teach this lesson and see, like, these are very common mistakes, I want to address those. Or you can start using, for instance, some of the self-test, actual practice material that is in here and use it in that sense. And hopefully, and that makes it task-based. They've focused on meaning all the time, creating complaints, doing a little role play, etc. And then